Yoga is yoga, really. And here in the West, we think of yoga as all these physical asana poses that we do, these postures, if you will. There's different styles. You've heard about hot yoga and vinyasa yoga and ashtanga yoga and iyengar yoga. And it goes on and on and on. There's just one yoga, and it's hatha yoga when you talk about the physical practice. Power yoga is what basically this style is. Power yoga or vinyasa yoga. Don't let the words fool you. It's a brand of yoga or a style of yoga. And in this case, it's physical, pretty physical. And it comes from Ashtanga yoga. Originally, the base of the practice is Ashtanga from a gentleman named Patabi Joyce. The thing about Ashtanga for me was it was a bit serious on the dogmatic side. There's series that you adhere to. And for me, it didn't work for my body, for old injuries and things like that. And I found this style of yoga called Power Yoga that was influenced from Ashtanga. It took the base of Ashtanga, divorced it from the dogmatic approach of Ashtanga, and made it a little more free and a little more creative. And as a yoga teacher, that appealed to me, not to be adherent to one style and one sequencing. So Power Yoga is an offshoot of Ashtanga Yoga, which to you means nothing. But what it is a simple type of practice that I think anyone can do, as long as you do it to your own capacity, your own degree. And this style of practice, especially in Yoga Warrior 365, we're not very contortive. There's no real contortive poses. I don't have the style of body that can put my foot behind my head and do a handstand. And so since I don't do it, I don't really teach that. When you think about yoga, we think about yoga in America, we think about the 1% that's physical, which in America we've taken 1% and made it 99%. And I'm not ashamed of that. People, well, we just turned it completely physical. Yeah, we have, because in America we're very physical. In the West in general, we're very physical. And physical is your vehicle. I remember Iyengar, we talked about, they asked him one time, he'd been teaching for 30 years. And I saw an interview with him, and they asked him why he didn't teach more of the philosophical aspect of the practice. And he said, without health, what would I know of philosophy? So our philosophy is this practice will make you healthy. But anything done with great power and in passion has to be embedded in a deep philosophical idea. And we talk about philosophy throughout the practice, and you'll see the philosophy. Each class has a philosophical tone to it. But I think ultimately the philosophy I come with is just becoming more compassionate with yourself, gentler with yourself, more loving to yourself. And that's a pretty good philosophy, no matter if it's the Greeks or the Indians. The three platforms in yoga and our practice is really just structural. And with this philosophy, or with this kind of a guideline, it gives you somewhere to start in a pose and somewhere to finish in a pose. And the three platforms, long story short, is the feet and the hips and the shoulders. And most of our poses, I'd probably say 80% of them, once you get into this practice, or standing on our feet. I like the simplicity and also the gesture of standing on my feet and making a stand. And so you start the feet, you line the feet appropriately, whatever the pose may be, and then you line the hips appropriately, and we've talked about it in Warrior Tips, and we've talked about that throughout the class. And then you line the shoulders. So let's say you step into crescent pose, which we'll use in the practice. As soon as you step into it, you check the feet. Now, all this is like a split-second thing. It's like a computer going off. It starts to become like a automatic response. So I step, I line my feet, I line my hips, and I line my shoulders, whatever the requirements of the posture are. And you'll be drilled in enough where you'll become a master at it. So our platforms are those: feet, hips, and shoulders. And always start, and you'll start at the shoulders, and then you move to the feet and you go to the hips. Always start from the ground and work your way up in all the postures. So those are the three platforms. Six actions is, all these things are, it's interesting, you guys at home, you start to delve into the practice. All these are kind of layering the practice. These are things I found in my own teaching, and usually what I teach is usually what I've experienced, or not usually, always, teach what I know. And in my inquiry into yoga, on a superficial level of what am I doing in this practice, and I started discovering things that gave me depth. As we talk about it in the program, you want to move from just focusing on your breath, and then there's this great journey through the practice. And we've set it up so there's layering. So as you gain experience, you gain depth. these 6 actions are, when you move into a pose, first thing you do is you organize it. How do you organize it? Remember the 3 platforms: feet, hips, and shoulders. And then there's other skills. So once you've organized the pose, you gotta stabilize the pose. How do you stabilize it? Well, that's muscle energy, hugging the bones with the muscle and the things you'll learn in the practice. And then the third thing is, once you've stabilized it and you've done it, you have to analyze it. And that analyzation isn't in a judgmental way, it's in a way, can I become more focused on what I'm doing here? The 4th action would be observation. So you've done the organization, the stabilization, the analyzation, you observed it, right? And if you've made an error one way or the other, it's not really this myopic, it's like that. As you move through the practice, it becomes like that in a way. After you observe it, if you've done too much, you make an adjustment, and your adjustment, you've done too little, you make an adjustment. And then you reflect. You've made the adjustment, how did it change my experience? And that is the reflection. So the 6 actions are: you organize, you stabilize, you analyze, you observe, you adjust, and then ultimately reflect. And that's really what the practice is about, is really a reflection, as you move deeper into the practice. And so it's just, again, I don't want you guys, people at home, to get lost and go, I can't do all this, it's blowing my head. It will really just come to you over time. We'll give you guidelines on how to implement these things as you progress. It's not like day one, you gotta do it all. It's just that eventually you'll get this verbiage. And I'll call it focus, or I'll call it organize, you'll call it something else. So this gives you just verbiage and technique to actually find something more organic within yourself. So the 6 actions are that. So the 5 doorways is, I use my imagination. Remember, one of the doorways is imagination. And I imagine the practice progresses like this. You start with your practice and you just focus on your breath. And in the program, we'll take you through the 5 doorways eventually. Now I'm gonna do them pretty quickly here for the sake of just trying to explain it. So the 5 doorways, as I imagine them, is you just start the practice focusing on breath. And that's it. To me, it's like a corridor. I'm looking down this corridor to a deeper practice. And the first door is focus. And what do you focus on? Breath. As you progress and you get good at this, the second doorway, to me, is obvious. It's awareness. And how's that different from focus? I think it's focus, but on a deeper level. I can feel my fingers. I can feel the sinew in my body. I can feel the muscles. I can feel the bones. I can feel the lines of energy and those type of things. So that's awareness. And then further now, as you progress down this doorway to depth, or doorway to a deeper practice, the next doorway, I imagine, is consciousness. And how is consciousness different from focus or awareness? I think it's more encompassing. So I got my breath. I'm aware. I'm observing that I have my breath. I'm the observer. I am aware that I'm aware. And that's the consciousness. The consciousness is that bigger picture. It's a greater level of awareness than just my body. It's more of what's going on in this room, what's going on outside my house, what's going on in my community, even in the midst of yoga poses. It's almost like don't get weird, almost like a clairvoyant thing in some ways, And then the 4th door that I like is the door of imagination. And what I like about the door of imagination, it makes these first 3 doors possible, because you imagine these things, and if you can see it, you can be it. And from that imagination, I start to visualize my life, And the 5th doorway leads from imagination to manifestation. In the program, we want you to experience that over the course of this program. So we'll give you plenty of time to master your focus, plenty of time to get into your awareness, plenty of time to figure out what a greater sense of consciousness is for you, plenty of time to tap into your imagination, and eventually I can manifest what I want my life to be from the life I imagine. So I've left circumstances and have moved toward vision. And it's quite a tall order, but you can get that through the practice. My tool is yoga. You can get it many other ways too, can't you? You can get through meditation, you can get through Tai Chi, you can get through Qigong, you can get through art, you can get through music, you can get through whatever your tool is, but this is the tool that I find the most accessible to me. this is a lifestyle, not a weight loss program. But if you need to lose weight, I think what yoga will do for you on the periphery is it'll make you more aware of your choices. And we'll talk about choices in yoga a lot, modify or not modify. Observe, adjust, and reflect. And it's in that realm. You'll start to practice, and the yoga, as I mentioned earlier, it makes you feel so dynamic and so strong and so healthy and so calm and serene. And you'll start to notice the things in your life that are actually taking you away from that place. And perhaps a bad diet's one of those things, but it's not dogmatic in that way. Yoga never tells you to do anything. It doesn't tell you to stop drinking. It doesn't tell you to stop staying out late. It doesn't tell you to quit eating bad food, per se. But I think as you get deeper into the practice, you start to make choices that make you feel better, the choices that enhance you. But the physical change can be anywhere from, I lost 100 pounds, to, I can bend over and tie my own shoes. I can bend over and pick up my children. I can walk pain-free. I can sleep better. I have more energy. I'm more vibrant. I'm more positive. I'm more enthusiastic. So the changes, it depends on how much, what type of effort you put in. But I think on just the smallest degree, I'm more peaceful. I'm more tolerant. I'm kinder. And those are emotions and mental things, but I think those are physical things because those things lead to physical discomfort. Being angry or being reactive or being whatever it may be. So when you deal with the mind, the body kind of follows suit. The body gets in line behind the mind. The mind leads the way. And most of our diseases and most of our injuries and most of our pain are started in the mind and manifest themselves in the body. So the changes can be vast and enhancements can be beautiful. So I'll leave that to you to figure out, and I think you enjoy the revelations.